Hey gang, so 318 is out to the PTU, but it's kind of limited. I think they might be rolling it out wider by the end of the week and might even be going live by next week, but I think I've been saying that for the last couple weeks. And usually when we're in the midst of the horse latitudes like this, content creators out there collectively lose their minds, at least those that regularly cover the verse and sort of await the next morsels that CIG decides to dole out to us. So because of that, I thought it might be a fun little diversion to roll the spotlight around and focus on the content creators that I follow and why. This is not meant to be an exhaustive list of all content creators or the wildly popular ones or those that the community might consider the best, but just the list of the ones that I follow and why I follow them. There's only so many hours in the day, and I like to get information about the project or opinions about the project from a tighter group of people. That these are the people that if I haven't seen one of their videos pop up for a week, I will actually search them out and try to figure out why. With that said, let's go ahead and get this. So to start this off, I've broken this off into a few broad categories. Whales, data aggregators, speculators and discussers, and gameplay and theory crafting. So this is in no way meant to be a final or definitive list. There are literally thousands of people, myself included, who create content around Star Citizen. These are just the ones that I follow on the regular, and I thought that you might like to know this too. You probably already follow most, if not all, of these people. So the common thread of the people that I follow, the content creators that I follow, is that they give constructive criticism. They love this project, but they're not so enamored with it that they're afraid to point out when something could be done better, explain better, the communication is lacking, or something is implemented poorly or comes up short, in their opinion. By the same token, they also haven't tapped the vein of the people who desperately want to see this project fail, which I know is tempting for the added clicks that the other community brings. There were definitely more names on this list at one time, but they realized they could garner more eyes if they bashed the project rather than just covered it. And that's where I try to land, both in my content and the content I follow, somewhere in between the fanboy and the detractor. So I'd be shocked if you landed at my tiny channel without knowing at least most of the people that I'm about to mention. But with that said, let's dive in. First, it's real unlikely that you found my tiny channel without bumping into at least one of these first two. Second, they have plenty of subs, so they don't need the extra marketing. In the last couple years, especially during the pandemic, some of the bigger names in the general YouTube gaming community and streaming community did a piece or two on Star Citizen, but not to be too pejorative, but I kind of see them as tourists as opposed to fellow citizens in the verse, although they could definitely be mainstays once the game goes gold. As far as bigger channels that cover Star Citizen on the regular, these are the two that pop up on my own feed the most often. Level Cap covers a variety of games, so has a broad appeal, sitting on close to 2 million subs. The fact that he keeps Star Citizen on the radar and does this on the regular and is regularly involved in gameplay shorts is kind of cool at this stage in development. Still, Star Citizen isn't a fully realized game yet by any stretch, so he'll do the rounds with other games, but his Star Citizen coverage is generally pretty good. Morphologist is interesting because he almost exclusively talks about Star Citizen, and while he was known in the community for a bit, he really blew up a couple years ago. He started with his an Architect Reviews series, where he'd hop into a ship and give his thoughts on the layout and aesthetics, or lack thereof, in the older days. Now that he's done blowed up, he's expanding that out into streaming and the game in general to mixed success. He courted a little controversy a couple months back with some of his opinions on PvP and the A2. Still, Morph's really good at editing. He's great at creating beautiful scenes. His vids on architecture, style, and design are definitely worth a watch. Bonus is that Morph has a voice that would be right at home on This American Life on NPR. Data aggregators serve a pretty important role in the Star Citizen community. One of the issues a sprawling project like Star Citizen has is that information about the project and development are also spread all the hell over the place. While CIG has tightened this up a little bit in the last couple of years, there's still a lot of different places that information leaks out. The data aggregators are aces at sniffing these various sources and compiling it into one place. And I found that it's useful to follow a few of them because they kind of all have their own speculations and their own angles when discussing these topics. Board Gamer's been a mainstay of the community for so long. There's some people in the community that think he's actually on the CIG payroll. He's not. He's just a gamer like us and someone very enthralled by the project, but it says something that the idea is out there at all. Board makes short and medium length content, but his reach and contacts in CIG are pretty broad. He'll have pieces about patch notes, news of the week, and even dev comments hidden away on Spectrum. Board's prolific and consistent, and I don't get the hate that he gets from some corners of this community. Board's good people, and he puts out good content, and if you haven't checked him out, somehow you definitely should watch a couple of his pieces. The Eradicator is another one that's been involved in the community for this project for as long as I can remember, and after a while of having a small channel, he managed to blow up a few years ago and never look back. Erad does more than just data aggregation like the majority in this group, and he kind of goes across the different groups in this list. Even so, his breakdowns of patch notes and other information coming out of CIG with a critical, realistic eye is appreciated. He's very good at walking the constructive criticism line, holding CIG to account for what they've said without bashing them unless they deserve it, which I appreciate. His patch reviews at the end of each cycle are also pretty good, and I recommend you check him out. He kind of goes through and gives them a overall grade, a grade on different sections, and then kind of an overall grade that's an aggregate of them. It's a pretty interesting watch if you haven't seen it. So Montoya is the leader of TEST, which is the largest org in the Star Citizen community. Again, like most of the content creators I follow, Montoya has been involved in this madness long enough to fall into the really wants to see this thing become a reality, seasoned with it's not going to be out tomorrow. I like Montoya because out of nearly everybody on this list, our views on the project are probably most closely aligned. It's okay to love this project while simultaneously acknowledging that some parts of development have been and continue to be a mess. A mess we're here for, though. Montoya's got a good sense of humor about the whole thing as we plod along to Gold Standard. Ryan, aka Super Mac Brothers, is similar to the others on this list, going over patch notes, the bi-weekly updates, and doing things similar to my shallow dives on the deliverables, looking at things that are wrapping up on the progress tracker. Like Board, Ryan is also pretty good at digging out relevant dev posts and responses and talking about them, typically in a compact format. He also does 0 to hero runs through just about every patch, which is pretty fun to watch. So Noobifier probably doesn't really need an introduction here, just given that a lot of people use him for his content. But he is well known for doing his very brief breakdowns on CIG's shows and posts. These no bullshit shorts are usually under 5 minutes. So if you want a quick rundown of something that popped up in the community, Noob's channel is usually the place to start. Like everybody on this list, Noob's a fan of the project, but not above leveling some criticism or snark when he feels it's necessary. As a final aside, Noob's Gamer Cave is incredible, and I'm totally jealous. In this category, and the one before and the one after, most of these content creators could actually be stuffed into any of these general categories. And a lot of them have more than one channel to help beat the proclivities of the YouTube algorithm. Even so, these are the channels that I turn to when I want to get more than just a rehash of a post, video, comment, or event. Some of these content creators are similar to myself, where they'll riff on a topic either with themselves or with a Discord or similar live community. Others have roundtable style discussions between a few members who are either experts on the topic or just fellow fans. DG360, who used to go by Da Games, is first on this list because he was actually the first person I started following on Star Citizen for information on the project. Between my backing of the Kickstarter and then the long wait until the game finally got itself out of the hangar module, DG was the one I mostly followed to keep apprised of where the project was at. DG came over from EVE and was a hardcore Elite Dangerous creator before losing faith in that sister project. Because of that, he has a broad understanding of these style of games and has seen firsthand some of the pitfalls a project like Star Citizen can fall into when they start pandering too hard to one group or another. Depending on your preference, you'll either love or hate DG's style, but he's definitely worth a look. His style is more like a traditional live podcast, so if you like that format, check him out. DG is big into the industrial gameplay like me and is looking forward to the day when the economy is less conjecture and more reality. A final point on DG is that he's really good at giving voice to smaller content creators, and a few of the other names on this list, such as Erad and Avenger 1, were originally highlighted on DG's, for lack of a better term, variety show. Mostly run by Execute, Algored, and Badgers, Inforunner is another OG channel that does roundtable discussions around a variety of topics. They'll usually pull on other content creators and in real life experts on certain topics, either people that have worked in the military or mining, like real life mining, and that sort of thing. The Inforunners have a long-running Fix My Fleet series that's very good, as is their advice for buying ships, which is kind of the game within a game for Star Citizen. Again, I'll toss in there that you never need to buy anything other than a starter package to play this game, and eventually you'll be able to get all of these ships in-game. That said, Emperor suggests not buying little ships if you have enough skin in the game to get a bigger ship. The thought behind that being that you can earn the smaller ships with the bigger ship a lot faster than you can earn the bigger ship with the smaller ship. It's a valid point, although crewing a bigger ship does introduce a law of diminishing returns. The Emperors can sometimes hilariously get deep into the weeds of hopium, but they are definitely a great source of information, great lovers of this project, and generally realistic on CIG's delivery schedule. The Captain's Stable is run by Paul Berserker01 Batman Shelley, who is also a member of the Inforunners, and the two channels often cross-pollinate. Paul's also the headliner for the Astropub and Galactic Historian, is widely seen as the guy to go to for lore knowledge in this community. He also has a very healthy bit of skeptical realism. Captain's Table and most of Paul's channels tend to be longer form content, deep dives into a topic with voices from across the community. Sometimes these are focused, sometimes these are general. Either way, Paul and the people he has on are generally pretty well plugged into the project as a whole. It helps that Paul, based in Austin, has several subs on his channel that have gone on to careers at CIG. While he doesn't necessarily have insider information, the information he does have is reliable. If you have the time to sit and watch his full-length shows, it's definitely time well spent. So Salty Mike has a reputation as being, well, salty, but once you get past his name, Mike tends to be mildly grumbly, but mostly realistic. Mike has a weekly review on the news of Star Citizen, a quick overview of CIG's posts and shows that's a bit longer than Noob's and a bit more in-depth, but still pretty quick. It's a good shallow dive if that's what you're looking for. Outside of that, he has reactions to other news in the verse and other channels and a fairly active and interactive stream on Twitch. You'd have to decide for yourself if he's too salty for your taste, but in my experience, that's more his name than his actual personality. Mike's takes are pretty fair and pretty realistic. He just doesn't sugarcoat anything. Space Tomato has some of the slickest presentation intros and transitions of anyone on this list, along with a radio voice, and I'm jealous of both. Like the others in this group, Space Tomato also pops up on Captain's Table and Inforunners on occasion, does news as well as gameplay. But like I said, Tomato's delivery is awesome and always professional. Tomato likes to do shallow dives on a wide variety of topics, both those that are coming soon and those that are coming eventually. Also, like most of the people on this list, Tomato will do shows on flare-ups and news more or less in the moment. If you like your Star Citizen news to be presented more like actual news, Tomato's a good one to watch. This group of content creators focuses more on making content around the gameplay in the game right now. These can be everything from actual shorts about playing the game, machinimas, building meta ship builds, to tactics to use with mechanics that are actually in the game. This group is almost exclusively Star Citizen focused and are generally engaged on the day-to-day, which means they're a little better able to handle the times between patches because they're actually making their own content rather than waiting on news or new mechanics to drop from CIG. Citizen Kate and the Skunks make for a fun watch. They put a lot of time and effort into making entertaining shorts about playing through different missions, events, or shooting their way through locations, or engaging in PvP with other organizations. Kate and the gang are very good at pulling together presentations, and they almost feel like short, entertaining shows. For anyone that's actually played Star Citizen, the fact that they make this seem almost seamless and bug-free is nothing short of incredible. I have never not been entertained by any one of Kate's shows, so definitely give her a watch if this is the kind of gameplay or show you're into. One of the Hypnotoads, which is the leaders of the Planet Express org, STL Youngblood does regular reviews of new ships that drop in a Should You Buy series. This is great for anyone who wants an honest opinion on the new ships that are coming out when they drop to concept. Also, these shorts are a good place to start if you're thinking of buying any of the ships that already exist at one of the big yearly sales. Youngblood's views on these ships have been pretty spot on through the years, even through all of the changes in meta and mechanics. A lot like Noobifier and most of the others on this list, Youngblood's an OG and is pretty well steeled against the ups and downs of this project, and approaches his reviews with a lot of realism about what will be possible down the line versus what people hope or think will be possible down the line. And I'll toss in here at the end that I used to be a member of PXP before I went and formed the Carnival, but they were a great group of players and I have no complaints about them. They're certainly worth checking out if you're looking for a bigger, well-established org. Dig That 32 engages in a lot of PvE and likes to theorycraft on the meta of building ships out for that purpose, the best loadouts for taking out NPC ships. Dig That has fun builds, and I've used them a number of times. While they might not be as effective against a human opponent, against NPCs they're really solid. At the very least, his builds are a good jumping off point. Dig That's enthusiasm is infectious. If you want to have some effective builds for NPC bounty hunting, his channel is a great place to start. Where Dig That 32 is all about PvE, Avenger 1 is all about PvP, shooting down other players. A1's channel is more about tactics and strategy than loadouts, although you can learn a thing or two about those as well. Whether you're engaging in PvP or PvE, A1's channel is a good place to start to kind of get the basics of flight combat, maybe the best. So you might be asking yourself, why does a largely industrial player such as myself say that you should follow a pirate channel? Well, the Mongrel Squad is very open about being a pirate org, and they're pretty open and intentional about showing how they do what they do. They want interesting gameplay, and for the industrial players of the first, that interesting gameplay just happens to be you. Mongrels are entertaining, and watching how they coordinate and the amount of work that goes into making the piracy game loop work, even at this early stage in development, long before the actual game loop is in, is pretty impressive. The Mongrel Squad is a great one to follow to learn group tactics, but also what you can do to engage in or avoid becoming the victim of piracy. Finally, this list wouldn't be complete without a shameless plug for my fellow carnies. Both are small channels like my own, and you might not have heard of either, but both are worth checking out. So full disclosure on this one, Knight and I have been friends in real life since around the mid-90s, but that doesn't change the fact that he has a cool gimmick on his channel. NVK is what I call him, is actually 2 accounts that he runs simultaneously on a live stream, usually on a split screen or switching rapidly between the two, using 2 separate accounts, 2 separate computers, and 2 separate keyboards on his desk. It's pretty wild to watch. In addition to that, he's always working on some tech wizardry or hardware. So if you're interested in hardware and tech like that, his channel is a great one to follow. Citizen Cobra's channel is focused mainly on the latest events and happenings in the verse, but also has some gameplay and walkthroughs. Cobra doesn't really focus on any one thing and is a bit of a generalist, and most of his vids are between 5 to 10 minutes, making for a quick watch if you're on a break. Throw him a like and a sub and help him grow his channel. So that's my list of people I watch and listen to on the regular. If you've got a great one that you think that I've missed, especially if it's a smaller channel that doesn't get enough burn, leave them down in a comment below and I'll go ahead and add them to the list of people that I usually check out. If you're a content creator that is just kind of looking to get your name out there, throw your name down there too. I don't mind if other content creators comment in my posts. I'm not doing this for money. I'm here for the community. So with that said, catch me next time, gang. See you in the verse.